Hi, this is Kim Kohler from Emerging Creatively Tutorials, and this is ECT TV, episode 36. Hi, and welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to be making a fun flower ring. I don't know where you are, but where I am it is starting to get warm and the snow is melting and the temperature is rising and I'm hearing birds chirping, and so hopefully soon flowers will be growing and spring is going to be here. And the first day of spring is a little bit later this week, so I am so excited about that. So today, to celebrate, we're going to be making a flower ring. So I just wanted to give you fair warning of this. I've been waiting and waiting to film this episode because they're doing a ton of construction like right outside my house basically, and I've been waiting and waiting, and finally I thought it stopped, and so I started taping, well, not taping, I'm filming, it's digital, but it started back up again. So I think it's minimal, and I think most of it is not on this video, but if it is, I'm sorry, and I hope it doesn't distract or take from the tutorial. So let's make a ring. So this is a tutorial for the flower ring. I'm going to show you what you need. I have a couple samples here. Now, the first thing you'll need is flower beads. Sometimes stores will call it floral beads. So if you're looking online, those are the two words to kind of look for. I'm using top drilled beads, and I'm going to make these into dangles. And this is another sample. This is actually a side drilled flower bead. Any of them are fine. This one's a little bit bigger, which is why I'm not using it. I'm using a smaller bead. See, they're kind of tiny. But you might prefer to use a larger bead, and that is your prerogative. It's your ring. You can do whatever you want with it. So you'll also need a leaf bead. This is a bead that is actually side drilled in this case. So you'll need one of those. So for the exact project I'm making, you'll need two of these top drilled flower beads and one side drilled leaf bead. Then you're going to need a wire. So I'm using 18 gauge half hard round wire, and actually, in fact, I'm using artisan wire that you get at the craft store for this project. If you're using sterling silver, you will want half hard or possibly even dead soft, depending how strong your hands are. To make this leaf bead into a bead dangle, I'm going to be using 24 gauge wire. It's also round. The reason I'm using 24 gauge for this is simply because the hole, when they put the hole through the bead, is very tiny. So you have to be aware of if the wire will fit through the hole. If the wire doesn't fit through, then it's going to be hard to make a bead dangle out of it. So I'm using a thinner wire, which is 24 gauge. The larger the number, the thinner the wire. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to use a couple of head pins, and that is for the top drilled beads. If you are not using top drilled beads, then you'll just need more wire to make those beads into bead dangles. And then the tools you'll need are a ring mandrel, round nose pliers, wire cutters, chain nose or flat nose pliers, and then another pair of pliers. I'm using bent nose, which works very well for wire wrapping, but you can really use any sort of kind of pliers that are flat on the inside, and then a roller. So let's get started. So we're going to start by making our 2 flower beads into bead dangles. This is, if you've been watching ECT TV for any length of time, this is a skill you already have, but I will show you. So first just slide the bead onto the head pin, and like I said, I've given lots of tutorials on how to make your own head pins, so if you want to make your own decorative head pin, that would be great in this case. And so now you just hold the wire from the head pin above the bead just a couple millimeters, and to make all of your loops uniform throughout a project, I have a mark on my pliers. Usually I do it before every project. I still can see the mark from the last time on my round nose pliers, so I'm just going to use that. It's about halfway in the middle of these. These are just standard round nose pliers. Then you just wrap the wire down towards you and around that barrel of the plier, and you take the wire off of those pliers, and you're going to grab your chain nose or flat nose pliers, and you'll notice that this loop is off center, and I want it to be right in the middle of that bead. So I just hold the loop in my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to wrap around one time, and while I'm doing that, I just straighten out the loop. So now it is straight above the bead. And I'm switching hands to my other hand. And this is where your other pair of pliers come in, or I'm using bent nose, and we're just going to make a few wraps, just very nice and neat, next to each other around that first wrap. Just kind of pull tightly. Okay. And we just trim off the excess with the wire cutters. And now to make sure that end isn't pointing out, I just go ahead and use my chain nose pliers to just sort of make sure it's not poking out. You can squeeze it in and just make sure it's not poking out. So that is one of the flower bead dangles. I'm going to make 2, but like I said, the design is up to you. If you only want to use one, then just use one. Okay, so now I have the 2 flower bead dangles. So I'm going to move on to the leaf. And I'm just going to show you how to do this because it's a little bit different. If you have a top drilled leaf bead, then you can just follow the same steps I just did. If you have side drilled beads, this is how you do it though. So I'm taking just a bit of wire, and like I said, this is 24 gauge wire, so it will go through the hole. And I don't know, I have about 4 or 5 inches. It's always better to have a little bit too much wire than not enough. And then I'm sliding the bead on, and now you can see how it is side drilled. And then I'm just pulling it to the middle, and then you just bend the wire up, and there's a little point in the top of this leaf, so I'm just following exactly that, and so that's how that looks, and the wires are crossed, and then you twist one time, and I'm just doing this with my fingers because this is 24 gauge wire, and it's very easy to use. If you had a thicker wire, you might need to just use your chain nose pliers to make that twist. And now I'm grabbing my round nose pliers, and again I'm just going to use that spot that is marked on my pliers. And we're just going to hold one of the wires, there's 2, So I'm just holding one in my round nose pliers, and it's sort of exactly the same as we did before. So you just sort of wrap around the round nose pliers once, just the one barrel, remove it, and then hold that loop in your chain nose pliers, and as you're going around one time, just make sure you have that loop straight above the bead. So we have that, and I'm just going to go around a couple times with this wire. Oops. And usually you'd want to switch hands. I just did it with my left hand. And so then with the other wire, you want to go around a couple times as well. And then when you're happy with that, just trim off the excess wire. And as you can see, since this is 24 gauge, I was just using my hand to do the wrapping. You could prefer to use your round nose pliers again for that. And then, again, we're just going to use our chain nose pliers to make sure that the ends are not poking out. So now we have 3 dangles, and it's time to make our ring. So grab your ring mandrel and your 18 gauge wire. Now I just had a kind of like a leftover piece from another project, so I just grabbed that. You just need a few inches, and you do not need to even cut it off the coil to do this. Just, you know, leave it on the coil and wrap around the ring mandrel. So you're going to want to wrap about half of a size larger than you're trying to make. So, for example, I am trying to make a size 9, so I'm going to wrap around 9.5. And so we're just making a circle and just kind of pull it tightly. Okay, so the amount you want to cut, and this is going to sound, it's easier to do than it is to explain, is about 1/2 inch of the amount that's crossing. So where it's crossing, the exact point where it crosses, you're going to go 1/4 inch on each side, or the amount that is actually doubled up is going to be 1/2 inch. So you can just take your trusty ruler, if you can't eyeball that, and check. And make flush cuts on each side. So that's the back of your wire cutters. They make flush cuts. The other sides make a pinch clip. And then remove that. Alright, so now we have this ring. If you need to pause to go pick up any flying wire, go ahead and do it. The thicker the wire, if you don't kind of hold it down when you cut it, it will fly, and that just happened to me. So I went and found it and picked it up before somebody in my family stepped on it in their bare feet, and that is never a fun experience. So we have this beginning of a ring here, and now we're going to put a loop on each side. Now, the loops are going to be perpendicular to each other. So one will be going one way and one will be going the other way. So I'll show you what that means as we do this right now. So first I'm going to make a loop going this way. So I'm holding the ring like this. And I've shown you how to do loops before if you've been watching ECT TV. And usually we make little tiny loops on the bottom of our round nose pliers. In this case, I want the loop to be bigger because we're going to be stringing all 3 of those bead dangles, as well as the other side of this ring, into this loop, into the loop. So I want to make sure the loop is big enough. So again, I'm just using that same halfway point mark on my round nose pliers. So you want to hold the wire, and this is slightly awkward because this is in a loop shape, but you're going to hold the wire, the end of the wire, in your pliers. The wire should not be poking through. You should not be able to feel it when you rub your finger over it, but it should be up at the top. You know, so you can kind of see it at the top there. And then what we're going to do is twist away from us, and I'm just going to twist my wrist, and as I'm doing that, I'm going to hold with my thumb and wrap around the plier to form a loop. So I'll show you that. First you go as far as you can go, and it won't be quite done, and you'll have to kind of let go and readjust, and that's why it's great to have this mark so you make sure you stay right at that same spot. And then continue and finish the loop. So it looks like a P. And then we're going to just kind of put our pliers back in here and bend back and make this loop. Oops, didn't quite do it right. Straight above the wire, so it's kind of straight instead of a P. And then if you need to close that loop, go ahead and close it. Okay, so now we're going to make a second loop on the other side of the ring. And this loop, okay, so you see this loop is going this way, the other loop is going to go the other way. So it's going to kind of, we're going to loop into this loop. So hold the wire like this. Again, it's slightly awkward, but we'll get through it. And just do the same thing again and make another loop. And then again, kind of bend it back so that it's straight above and not a P anymore. Okay, so hopefully you can tell better what I mean. So this loop is flat and this loop is up and down. So it doesn't matter which side is which, just so one is one way and one goes the other way. And so I'm going to choose the loop that's going up and down, and we're just going to open it. And it's just like opening a jump ring. Like, you don't want to open out, you want to kind of just pull it up. So it kind of still stays in a loop shape, but it's open. And now I'm beading on my bead dangles, and I like to do a flower, the leaf, and then the other flower. And then you just also bead in the other loop. This part can be tricky, and you might, which I just totally destroyed the shape of my ring. But don't worry, it's okay that it happened, because I will show you how to fix it now. And then just go ahead and close that loop back up, just the way you opened it. Alright, so now I have this terribly funky shaped ring, which hopefully that didn't happen to you, but if it did, it's okay. We're just going to slide it. And even if you don't have a funky shaped ring, you might want to just do this just to finish up. Slide the ring down as far as it will go on your ring mandrel, and it will reshape the ring back to a loop. Alright, and I did not close this properly, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and you can just, I was just double checking. You can double check, because if it's not closed right, your beads will fly all over your ring. And, well, maybe you want that. If you want that, go ahead and do it that way. I personally don't. So, that is your flower ring. Happy spring. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial and you make yourself a really cute little dangle flower ring and have a lot of fun with that. Like I mentioned, you can do whatever you want with it. You want 2 flowers, you want 1 flower, 2 leaves, you want 3 flowers, no leaves, you know, you just want a flower. However you want to make it is perfect. So, if you liked making that ring from wire, you are going to love Rings Every Day Month. So I'm so excited. April is Rings Every Day month here at Emerging Creatively Tutorials. So what does that mean? Well, there are two components. One is free and one is paid. And basically, it's a challenge for you to make a ring every single day. If you already know how to make rings, just sign up for the free version and I'll send you inspiration every day and challenge you to make a ring each day. If you don't know how to make rings, or you want to learn even more ways to make rings, and the rings I'm teaching are all made from wire. There's no soldering, anything like that, no metal smithing involved. It's all wire, more complicated than what we made today, but we're just using wire and beads, and some other little things here and there. If you want to learn to make 30 pairs of rings, then you want to get in on the premium version. So that, with that version, you get a tutorial, a brand new ring tutorial every single day. So at the end of the month, you will have 30 rings if you follow the challenge. Easter is in there. I'm going to send you a ring tutorial anyway on that day, but don't feel like if you're spending time with family or celebrating or that holiday, don't feel bad if you get behind. It's okay. You can catch up. You can save those rings for next month, the following month. You can do whatever you want. And once you have access to all these tutorials, then you will always have them. I never take down the page. As long as I'm alive, then you'll have access. So you get 30 ring tutorials in email every day. And you can come on over to KimberlyKoehler.com. I'll put the exact link down below this video so you can sign up. The free version, you get a tutorial each week and you get inspiration every day. So either way, sign up because I would love for you to be making rings every day. Alright, I will see you in a couple weeks with a brand new tutorial.